Biometric systems are becoming part of everyday life. Smartphones unlock with facial recognition. Airports use automated identity checks. Banks increasingly rely on biometric verification. Governments are expanding digital identity systems. Businesses use fingerprints, face scans, voice recognition, and iris verification to improve security and convenience. The problem is simple. Unlike passwords, biometric information cannot easily be replaced once compromised. Biometric data refers to measurable physical characteristics used to identify individuals. Facial geometry, fingerprints, iris patterns, voice prints, gait analysis, and even behavioral characteristics can function as biometric identifiers. These systems work because biological patterns are usually unique enough to distinguish one person from another. That uniqueness also makes biometric information extremely valuable. Traditional cybercrime focuses heavily on information that can be replaced after theft. Credit cards can be cancelled. Passwords can be changed. Usernames can be reset. Biometric information creates a different problem because the compromised asset is connected directly to the human body. If facial recognition data or iris information becomes permanently exposed, replacing that identifier may be impossible. This creates strong incentives for criminals. Stolen biometric information can potentially support fraud, identity theft, account takeover attacks, synthetic identity creation, and social engineering operations. As more industries adopt biometric authentication, the value of stolen biometric information increases. Facial recognition systems have expanded rapidly during the past decade. Smartphones, payment systems, security checkpoints, social media platforms, retail analytics systems, and surveillance infrastructure increasingly rely on facial identification technology. Every expansion creates more locations where biometric information may be collected, processed, stored, or transmitted. Iris recognition systems are also becoming more common because iris patterns are extremely distinctive and generally stable over time. Airports, border systems, national identity programs, financial services, and secure facilities increasingly use iris scanning because it provides high identification accuracy. However, highly accurate systems also create highly valuable targets. Cybersecurity researchers have repeatedly demonstrated that biometric systems are not automatically secure simply because they involve biology. Facial recognition systems have sometimes been fooled using masks, photographs, synthetic images, or manipulated data depending on system quality. Fingerprint systems have occasionally been bypassed using replicated surfaces. Biometric security depends heavily on implementation quality rather than biology alone. Data breaches create another risk. Many biometric systems store templates rather than raw images. These templates are mathematical representations designed to compare future scans against stored information. Even so, researchers continue debating whether compromised templates can be reconstructed, misused, or exploited if sufficient supporting data exists. Large-scale data breaches have already exposed enormous amounts of personal information globally. Criminal groups increasingly combine stolen data sets together. Names, addresses, passwords, financial information, location data, social connections, and biometric information become more valuable when aggregated. Identity theft has evolved from stealing individual credentials into building comprehensive digital profiles. Underground cybercriminal markets operate largely according to economic incentives. Information becomes valuable when it creates opportunities for fraud or access. Financial credentials, corporate data, ransomware tools, malware services, and stolen accounts already circulate heavily within cybercrime ecosystems. Biometric information may increasingly join this category as authentication systems become more dependent on biological identifiers. Synthetic identity fraud creates particular concern. Criminal organizations sometimes combine real and fabricated information to create new identities for financial fraud or account creation. If biometric systems become central to identity verification, stolen biological information may become useful for constructing increasingly convincing synthetic identities. Artificial intelligence is accelerating these risks because AI systems can generate increasingly realistic synthetic media. Deepfake technology has already demonstrated the ability to generate realistic voices, faces, and video content. Combined with compromised biometric information, synthetic systems may eventually create more sophisticated impersonation attacks. Facial recognition datasets are especially valuable because images are already abundant online. Social media, public photography, video platforms, surveillance cameras, corporate systems, and personal devices generate enormous volumes of facial information continuously. The challenge is not simply collecting images. The challenge is extracting usable identification features at scale. Many governments are simultaneously expanding digital identity infrastructure. National ID programs, border management systems, welfare programs, immigration systems, and public services increasingly depend on biometric verification. Centralizing identity systems may improve efficiency, but also increases the importance of protecting sensitive databases. The commercial sector is expanding rapidly as well. Banks use biometric authentication to reduce fraud. Retail companies experiment with facial recognition analytics. Mobile devices increasingly depend on biometric unlocking. Workplaces deploy biometric access control systems. The more sectors adopting biometric systems, the greater the consequences of compromise. Privacy advocates often warn that biometric surveillance creates risks beyond fraud. Unlike passwords, biometric identifiers may allow persistent tracking across multiple systems simultaneously. Facial recognition systems connected across large infrastructures could potentially create continuous monitoring capabilities across physical environments. Criminal organizations do not necessarily need complete biometric systems to create problems. Partial information combined with social engineering, phishing attacks, malware, stolen documents, or synthetic media may still increase attack success rates significantly. Cybercrime increasingly relies on combining multiple data sources rather than exploiting single vulnerabilities. Some researchers argue stronger security architectures can reduce these risks. Multi-factor authentication, encrypted templates, local device processing, liveness detection, and decentralized storage systems may improve security substantially. The goal is reducing dependence on any single authentication factor. The larger challenge is economic. Convenience drives adoption. Biometric systems remove friction from payments, security checks, account access, and identification. Consumers and organizations often prioritize speed and convenience over long-term security concerns. This creates strong commercial pressure for wider biometric deployment. Regulation is struggling to keep pace. Many privacy laws were written before modern biometric systems became widespread. Questions surrounding biometric ownership, consent, storage, deletion, transfer, and commercial use remain unresolved in many jurisdictions. International coordination is particularly difficult because biometric systems increasingly operate across borders. Security experts often emphasize an important distinction. The greatest immediate risk is not necessarily someone stealing a face or iris image directly and instantly taking over every account. The larger risk involves gradual accumulation of biometric information combined with increasingly sophisticated fraud systems over time. This is why biometric theft creates unusual concern. When passwords leak, replacement is possible. When physical identifiers become compromised, recovery becomes far more difficult. The security model itself changes because the credential is permanently attached to the individual. The biometric black market is not fully mature today, but the incentives supporting it are growing. Artificial intelligence, digital identity infrastructure, surveillance expansion, biometric authentication, and cybercrime economies are developing simultaneously. Together, they create conditions where biological information may become increasingly valuable underground. For decades, digital security focused on protecting information stored outside the human body. The next phase may involve protecting information that is part of the body itself. As biometric systems become more deeply integrated into everyday life, the most valuable credential people possess may increasingly be their own biology. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the forces shaping our future, be sure to explore our other documentaries examining the technologies redefining modern civilization. And if you want to keep exploring the biggest questions about science, power, and the future of humanity, make sure to subscribe to the channel and join us for the next journey into the unknown.